Okay, I'm just going to share my screen and expand this Google document. Okay, so today we're actually going to be talking about permaculture design steps. So with permaculture, we've got very defined methodology of how to go about making a permaculture design. Okay, and we're going to talk about that in the steps. So it's very important, first of all, that you know where you are. You know, where are we today? And then, there comes a point where you've got to have a goal, okay? And then it's how to get there. So we're going to call that the roadmap, okay? So goals. Where do you want to go? Now, this could be you asking yourself, if you're the owner of the project or the garden or the balcony, whatever it is that we're building, then ask yourself questions. What are you trying to achieve? What is your vision? What's your dream, etc. If it's for a a client, then you're going to be asking the client those same questions. Okay. Now, once you've determined your goals and your objectives, then we're going to have to go to do a site visit. Okay. And by doing a visit, we're going to have an opportunity to observe. And we're going to be making a lot of observations, everything from, what is there today, marking down on a map. A map, the general maps you buy in the store can be very useful to make annotations on if they're large enough scale, or you may have to produce your own. But what maps are not very good at is showing things like trees, for example. So, of course, there's no way you're going to be cutting down a 300-year-old tree in a permaculture project. So you're not going to put a house on top of a tree, okay? But you wouldn't know it was there from a map unless you actually go to the site and make observations. Oh, well, crikey, there's a big tree there. Obviously, that then excludes that area from where we could put a house. Okay, so it's important to make observations, and you only do that with a site visit. Ideally, and I say ideally, you should spend 12 months observing a site before making any major changes. Okay, you can still get on with smaller things, but let me give you an extreme example. If you had, you're living in a place where there's elephants, okay, not many of us do, but it's an extreme example. And if you had gone ahead and built a lovely garden system, and every year there's a migration of elephants that comes through your property. And those elephants, of course, are pretty big. And let's say they had trampled all through your garden. Okay, not their fault. It's the fact that you hadn't observed that there was on a migration route, and you hadn't made a way that either they could pass around, or you've excluded them from the system. Then you've just wasted a lot of time. Okay, so it's important that we do observe as long as possible before making major changes. Okay, once you've been to your site and you have taken stock of a lot of information, now you're going to use that information. You're going to have to analyze it. Okay, and there's lots of different ways that we can analyze information. Essentially, what we're trying to do is link elements together so that we can have our inputs and our outputs connected, that we can have plants that work in harmony, that we can basically have a very good system where everything is benefiting each other. Now, sometimes there's not necessarily one right answer. Okay, there can be times when there could be several right answers, and these are our times when we have to make decisions. Okay, and there's different ways we can make decisions. Look at this lovely picture. This is a typical crossroads, and that this happens in life where we have to make choices, and there may not be necessarily be say one definitively right answer, but in any case, the next step is going to be implementation. Okay, so you've thought about it, you've planned it, and now you're going to have to act on it. Okay, so This is the actual doing bit. It may be the case where your whole project gets done in one go. Okay. It may be a case where, you've got different phases. If you're doing a reforestation project and the native trees, if you planted them today, they just wouldn't survive. And the first phase was actually putting in pioneer species. Okay, so phase one would be pioneer species. A couple of years later, once they have improved the conditions, then you go ahead and plant native trees. It may be a case where you don't want to plant everything in one go because you're not sure it's going to work. So you would do a trial. Okay. So implementation, putting it all out there and, putting it into place. And then, you're going to be observing and interacting, of course. And this is where the maintenance and management comes. What you see from your site, hopefully there's not going to be too many major surprises, but there will be some surprises. Okay. And then, you need to determine whether those surprises are things you want to keep and replicate perhaps, or things that you're going to have to, change around or maybe move things around. Okay. So there's definitely maintenance and management afterwards. So that's our step-by-step guide to how we go ahead and do a permaculture design. What I'm going to do now is break that down further for you, okay, in other videos.